Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I am Vanessa Hundley, back with another episode of Cut and Mix. It is timeless conversations with passionate professionals, and today I am joined by an accomplished Hollywood actress, Barbara Niven. Barbara, thank you so much for
Hey,
joining me.
thanks for having me. And,
Now,
and I can't wait to hear more about your DJ job too in your career. So,
oh,
kind of both in entertainment, but very different facets of it. So, it sounds fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. I was about to say you're with the movies and television. I'm with the music side of it. So we
Yep.
get to do so many great things
Yeah.
around so many great people. Yeah, obviously, her face might be familiar to some of you. Just a quick, brief breakdown. So she has over 30 years of acting in Hollywood productions, over 100 film and TV roles, over 2,500 TV and radio commercials. So even if you don't think you've seen her before, you've definitely probably heard her before. And she played Marilyn Monroe in HBO's The Rat Pack. She's also appeared on many TV shows, including My Two Dads back in the day, Wings, Parks and Recreation, NCIS, The Original Charmed, and of course, Las Vegas. She also has award-winning roles in the indie drama A Perfect Ending and Hamlet's Ghost. And you can find her now on the Hallmark Channel as a regular in Chesapeake Bay, and also crossword puzzle murder mysteries, which I love a good puzzle. So Barbara, that's just a tiny, tiny, tiny sampling of all the stuff that you have behind you as an actress. So tell us a little bit about your early years and how they inspired you to get into acting. Was that your original goal, or did you just
I just feel so blessed that I've been living my dream all these years. And I remember specifically saying to myself that I didn't want to wonder what if someday. So I think that would be, at the end of your life, that would be the most awful feeling, to wonder, well, what if I had taken that other road? What if had not tried that? Or what if I did, you know? So yeah, it's believing in yourself enough to go after it, and just leaping into the abyss, and just trying it, because to not try it would be the worst thing ever. So as scared as you are, I always think that what gives you goosebumps, your fear, actually leads you to your goal. So you just leap through the fear and use it, and just see what happens. And I remember when I first started out, I remember, and probably your viewers are the same way. What did you want to do when you were a little girl or a little boy, before everybody started telling you, oh, it's not possible, you can't do that, really? So, maybe somebody wanted to be a fireman or a cowboy or a nurse or a mom or whatever. I just specifically remember there was a moment when I was 5 years old in kindergarten. We were doing a Christmas show, and with the parents, just like all kindergartners do. And I remember exactly what I was wearing. I remember looking out into the audience. I just got the same goosebumps that I do. I was wearing footy pajamas, holding a little bear, and we were singing, "Me and my teddy bear, have no worries, have no care." I mean, how stupid is that to remember that? But it was so important for me. It's indelibly imprinted in my being, and the goosebumps that I got then, just watching people's faces that were being entertained, and that feeling that I'm helping that we're sharing this experience. Me as the actor, them as the audience. I still get goosebumps no matter what I do, whether it's doing an interview with you like this, so we have that energy going back and forth, or whether it's shooting a TV series, or whether I'm a speaker. I do a lot of motivational speaking, but I always still get goosebumps. And so I want people who are watching to think about what gives you goosebumps. And your goosebumps lead you right into your purpose, because they're all about your passion. And we're all given gifts. And when we hook into our gifts and start feeling the goosebumps, that passion, that's what we're given the gifts for, it, because it leads us to what we're meant to do here on earth. So I think it's all together. So I'm all about go with your goosebumps, and think about right now what you would pay somebody else to let you do, because that's what it's about. It's not about you have to make a career at it, because the odds like of being an actor. I mean, I'm glad I didn't know how bad the odds were at that point. Um, but you can't do it for money. You can't do it for, I'm going to be a star. You have to love the craft. You've got to love what you do.
Yeah.
And again, it's about your goosebumps. Like I'm sure you get goosebumps being a DJ and
Oh
about
yeah.
music, don't you?
Oh
You
yeah.
entertain people. So that's the same thing. How did you get started when you wanted to get into your craft?
Oh, well, it was actually a chance comment. I was working at a nightclub as a bartender, which was my second job.
Yeah.
Um, I was a single mom, and my first career was actually in massage therapy. But I started doing that when I was 18. So by the time I was 21, I'm like, I want to be around more people, and so bartending was a little stopgap for that. But while I was doing that, I actually would go play with the lights while I was waiting to go on to bartend. And the DJ was just like, "Oh, your lights are always right on with the music and what I'm playing." And I was like, he's like, "You ever thought about being a DJ?" And I was like, "No," because I came from Florida. So most of the DJs I'd known up until that point were guys and jerks. And so it just was never something I looked at
Yeah.
as a profession. And
Yeah.
so it was literally a chance comment and then playing with it for a little while and then maybe discovering that I had maybe a chance to do it. Because my original focus is I originally wanted to act. And so, but I had my daughter so young that I was,
Yeah.
acting wasn't a very realistic possibility at the time,
Yeah.
for me. But DJing allowed me to perform.
Yeah.
So it kind of
Yep,
killed
I
that.
totally get it. And we are both unlikely winners.
Yes.
Just because the odds were against us, because I didn't start acting till I was a single mom too. My daughter was probably 2.5.
Mm,
Um, and I remember there are moments in life where you can take one road or the other, right?
yes.
But you have to have a wake up call,
Yes.
whether somebody else gives it to you, whether life gives it to you, or whether you finally give it to yourself. And I remember the day that I had my wake up call about acting was the day that I went out to the mailbox, opened it up, and I saw a notice that my 10-year high school reunion was coming up. And
Mm,
so I opened it up and I thought, oh my God, 10 years already? Well, okay. My life was okay. I was kind of living everybody else's dream of me, but my own dream, that acting dream that I put on hold because I knew I was going to do it someday, but
mhm.
already 10 years had passed. So as I looked at that, the paper and saw all the questions to fill in for the 10-year reunion, as to fill people in what you've been doing. It says, okay, who'd you marry? How many kids do you have? Where do you live? Blah, blah, blah. And the last question on that thing was, have you achieved all you thought you would in your life by now?
Oh, what a
And
question.
that literally took my breath away. And I thought, no, 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 10 years already. And I mean, I was okay, but
Mhm.
my big dream, my big goosebumps, that I was not doing anything towards that. So that's the day that I declared I'm going to put my dream into action. And I didn't tell anybody else because I was in Portland, Oregon, just going through a divorce and
Mhm.
no money, and I had no idea at all about what to do. So I took stock, and you've got to take stock of your skills when you want to do it. And I'm a big proponent of making lists. Okay, this is the good, this is the bad. Let's get to all good. Okay,
Yeah.
so I knew I could write, and I do love to perform. I love a camera. I'm a ham. And so I thought I could be a news reporter, but I didn't even have college. I had 6 months of college. And so, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
So I decided to find a mentor. And I knocked on the NBC affiliate door, KGW, in Portland, Oregon. And I knocked on his door, and I was called Barbie then, which I changed when I became an actress and moved to LA because Barbie's
Mm,
a little typecasting when you're blonde. Um, and I went in and said, okay, I'm going to be a news reporter and I want you to mentor me, please. And if you do, I promise when I have success, I will pay it forward and I will mentor somebody else. And I said, so if I bring you stories, don't tell me what's good about them. Tell me what I can improve because you're going to hire me. And they had an internship program. So but nobody had ever been hired without going through college, you know, because it goes hand in hand. So what
Yeah.
I used to do, he said, oh, sure. And I said, well, give me a sample script, please. So I know how to format it. I'll go do interviews and bring them back to you. He said, sure, here it is. And then I did. I used to go out and lie and call on the phone and say, hi, I'm Barbie. I am an associate producer at KGW, and we might want to do a television story on you, but I need to come and pre-produce you first so that to see if you're newsworthy. So everybody wanted to be on TV, so they all said yes. And so I take my big boom box down, big boom box in those days with the cassette tapes, and sit it on the table, and I would conduct my interview. And I was good at it because I knew what to do. I mean, I knew I could write, I knew I could be on TV, and I knew I'm good with people. So I would do that, take it home and write the script up, imagining the shots I would have if I had a real cameraman too. And then I would take the script back the next day and knock on his door when he opened, and I would say, here it is. So what can I improve? And when are you going to hire me? And they ended up doing it. I did it over and over, and they ended up making an exception, hiring me on as an intern. And then as an intern, because you're not union, you know, any performance you do on TV or anywhere, you have to be a member of either SAG or AFTRA, and now they've merged, so now they're SAG-AFTRA. And so, but you can do one time on camera. And so when my turn came up at the end of my internship, I announced to everybody that I'm going to sell mine to NBC nationwide. And everybody said, oh, yeah, sure, honey, sure, little Miss Blonde Barbie. But you know what? I found a hook, and I did make it a national story, a fun one, on a feature story on what was it, White House Easter egg roll. But I had a cameraman there who also got really fun shots. We did this great thing, and it ran nationwide on NBC, and I ended up getting hired there. So, but then right after that, I discovered acting, and because I like to make people feel and make myself feel more. And so the disappointing thing about doing news, and again, it's about honing what your dream is. Your dream, your first dream doesn't always, it's not always what your last dream ends up, but because it's all a journey, right? And you got to enjoy the journey. And so as a news reporter, it's all about, hi, I'm Barbara Niven. And you know, this, and you do this whole great story and research, and then you edit it down into 1 minute and 20 seconds of just facts, and that's just not me. So that's when I discovered, I decided I'm going to segue it into acting. So I went down to a bookstore and sat on the floor with my daughter in her stroller, I'm sure you can relate to that, and just read books on acting, and learned a monologue, and I just felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. This not only changed me, but I can communicate things that I want other people to feel and see and hear too. So once you plug into really what your purpose is, and it's not only about your dream, but it's about how you can help change the world, you know, how you live your passion, connect your purpose, and how you make a difference. So once you get all those things in, and it's just a journey, whether you make money at it or not, but you're going to love your life because it's not about the money.
Well, that brings us to your first movie. The first movie in your credits was in 1986, and it was called The Promise. And okay, so tying into that, how did you feel when you got cast for that first movie after all this reading and effort?
Oh my, oh my gosh, because I wasn't even a member of the union yet.
Wow.
And The Promise ended up winning the Emmy for the movie of the week Emmy for the year that year in 1986. And so actually Dana Delaney had been cast. They were shooting in Portland, Oregon, down in Salem. And for some reason they needed to recast. She might have been busy, I don't know, or sick, whatever. And so they ended up casting in Portland for this role, and I got it. It was my first big role. I just done a couple little student films, little where you carry all the equipment yourself, put it down, and then and then get ready and shoot. But this was a real deal. So I got my SAG card on this. because that you have to earn your SAG card by doing a SAG job. So I got my SAG card doing a movie that won the Emmy, and I did it with Piper Laurie and James Garner and James Woods. And not only did I get it's when you get your SAG card, it's your validation that, wow, you're joining these legions of people, these idols of yours. But they also taught me to the ethics of acting, because here I am, this baby actress, right? And and I didn't have a huge part, but I played James Garner's girlfriend. I mean, so I was in it a bit. I got to make out with James Garner. If you guys don't know him, my mom was so jealous. But James Woods, I know he's got a reputation of being kind of out there and maybe being a little moody. He could not have been nicer to me, because I had one scene where I'm making out with James Garner. I had to keep saying that. And then I look up and James Woods is staring at me, and he plays a schizophrenic brother of James Garner in this thing. That's why it was such a powerful movie to do. And I catch him like looking at me, and then I just need to scream. And would you believe that he stayed late after he had wrapped and just stayed there so he would be my eye line for that? And it just taught me, hopefully you work with people who give like that, and they teach you to give, and I know that there are people in every industry who play prima donnas or divas or, are not nice, but I think those are the ones that are the most insecure themselves. But if people are loving what they're doing and they're in it for the right reasons, oh my God, making a movie with somebody, it's like the old Mickey Rourke and Judy Garland, let's put on a show. And it just, and that's what they taught me, is you give, and to every single person on the set, they're all important. And my advice to people who are actors, because it's easy, they spoil you. It's easy to get a big head. Well, go do everybody else's job on the set, and then you'll learn that we have the easiest job. All we have to do is come and know our lines. We've gone to acting class, but when you're there, you do your job, and they just pamper us. But everybody else on that set has harder work than we do. And if any one person out of the whole team is off, we all have to do it over again. So so it's not about working in a vacuum, and it's not about you. It's about making the whole team effort, and that's why you make magic in every job, what you do, or at a corporation. It's about being a team player always, and that's how you get fulfilled, and that's how you make a difference.
Yeah, I've never felt that it never hurts anybody to bring others up.
Oh yes,
By all
yes,
means. I've
absolutely.
always
And
been a big
karma,
proponent of that.
babe.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. And people remember that and remember you for that too. And you can help
Oh,
set an example for others in the
absolutely.
industry.
So here's the other tip. I mean, seriously, I've been working more now than ever, but I've been in it about 35 years now. I was trying to, when you're saying 30 years, I'm thinking it's more
Was
like
it over?
35 years now. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I'm old.
35. Wow.
But what I always tell actors, again, when I mentor people, it's one job. It's great. You get an acting job, but then you're unemployed again, honey. So,
Same
but
thing with being a
repeat
DJ.
business, yeah, yes,
You're
repeat
only as good as
business
your
though.
last show. That's what I always
Yeah,
say.
but yes, and when you make clients and you have repeat business, that's your career.
Yes.
So be the nicest person on the set, be the most giving, get there early, help out wherever you can. If somebody's struggling, put out good energy. And especially on an acting set, which I'm most familiar with, a lot of times we go for a month at a time on location. Do you think that they want to hire somebody who gives them problem or is a jerk? Or do you
Oh.
think they want somebody who feels like family and makes it happy and they're fun to work with? So be the best person you can and be invaluable and get hired again over and over again. That's how you have a career in whatever you choose.
Well, it's obviously worked for you because when you go through looking at your IMDb, there is rarely a year where you don't have at least one credit, if not several.
Yeah, there were
After
some
that,
lean years.
oh, no, I'm about to say, yeah,
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
do understand that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was going to say, now, of course, that was going to be my next thing is, of course, what we see on paper doesn't always in the
Yeah.
creative industry translate to what you see in your bank account.
Yeah.
As we know, as a creative types, there are some things that you do basically just to keep your name out there through
Yeah.
those lean years where maybe you have less roles or whatever.
Yeah.
In my industry, it's, maybe I'm doing smaller gigs or whatever, or,
Exactly.
maybe post recession, people were cutting a lot of
Yeah.
breaks for people. Um, so after that first movie, you made a couple of your first appearances in television series. So now you have your SAG card
Yep.
at that
And
point.
moved
So
and
now,
moved finally moved to LA.
and
Yeah.
finally moved to LA. I
Yeah.
was going to ask
I did.
if
I
you've
did
worked
after
anywhere.
The Promise. I moved to LA. Yeah.
Okay. How did that affect your family? Was it still just you and your daughter at that point?
No, I had just gotten into another relationship and moved my daughter down, and it was a real leap of faith,
Yeah.
but I wanted her to grow up knowing that her dreams are possible too. And so I packed everything up
Hmm.
and put her in as my co-pilot, driving this 26-foot U-Haul van filled with everything, pulling a 10-foot trailer too. I had way too much stuff, and and leaving to the Dixie Chicks, wide open spaces, no room to make or big mistakes, and we I just did it on a leap of faith again because I didn't want to wonder what if. And I
Yeah.
had friends who were actors in Portland, other friends who just dreamed about it and never did it. And I knew if I waited much longer, I'm going to be too old to even have the shot at it. So, and I wanted to teach my daughter that it is not about the money. It's all about doing what you love and figuring out a way to make it work. And it doesn't have to be linear. Like you're talking about my resume with like TV shows, etc. But I figured out a way because I had to support this kid.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I did modeling. I did petite modeling, and I did what do you call it? Athletic modeling. I was on like every kind of equipment there was, and I was the Nike model. I was the Nike legs. I traveled for Nike. I did industrials. I got commercial contracts. But what I did, I couldn't sit and wait, and too many people wait to be discovered. Like
Right.
actors, especially, get like this just this wall up saying, "Hey, I'm good. Come discover me." I'm not going to put myself out there. And I see so many of them do it. Again, you take stock of what you have, figure out who your target is and how you can help them and say,
Mhm.
let's play together. What can we do together? And I still do that now. I call old producer friends, and they're not necessarily old, but
All right. Yeah.
prior, and say, okay, I'm not working. What can we do? Let's get something together. Let's put on a show. And,
Mhm.
and that's how I've always worked. So you can't put anything else down. It's like having my waiter job. I've never been a waiter. My waiter job was doing industrials.
Right.
And industrials like for Honda, like in-home industrials, or I was the Mary Kay lady for a while, or
You're right.
teaching those things. So you just got to really look and see and create your possibilities
Yeah.
like you do. My son-in-law is German and is going after acting, and he's a wonderful musician. He used to travel with Lifehouse
Hmm.
and then taught at Musicians Institute here in LA. And now again with the pandemic going on, he's not, he's getting some auditions, but what he's zoned in on, again, his strength, and whoever's watching this, your strengths are your unique talents too that you can offer that nobody else has. Or maybe
Right.
you have them with other people, but people would rather work with you because you're kindest and the best person to work with, right? So
Right.
what Jorg is doing right now is, because he's from Germany and he
Hmm.
speaks fluent German, he is doing German translation of things in his home studio. So figure out how you can make money doing what you love, but you got to be flexible, especially
Yeah.
right now in the pandemic too. But there are opportunities everywhere.
And so many more now, even just
Yep.
and as awful as the pandemic is, and we definitely, would not want, if we could hit the reset button, we'd like to say no pandemic.
Yep.
But there has been great strides made in the technological area that have
Mm-hmm.
allowed us to share so much more and taken
Mm-hmm.
down a lot of those walls. Um, But just going back a little bit to that early point where you're going from, film to TV and back and forth and back and
Right.
forth. As an actor, how do you find developing a television character different than developing a movie character, say?
Uh, no different.
No
I
different?
don't think. I just love developing a character and
Hmm.
being able to live somebody else's life for a little while,
Hmm.
and the character, a little piece of them. I always learn something from
Right.
something different. Learned a lot from Marilyn. I've learned a lot from Chesapeake Shores playing Megan
Hmm.
O'Brien in Chesapeake Shores. Um, I think she's made me a little more courageous, maybe a little more patient. But the lessons, a little piece of that character always stays with me, and
Yeah.
I love that. And um, I always still struggle with with being too nice, I think, instead of just being more direct. And
Hmm.
maybe as I've gotten older, I've become a little more direct because I think it's necessary.
Yes.
When I first started out, even my voice was up here, and I was told by somebody that, honey, with that voice, all you're ever going to do is play a victim.
Ah,
So, because you need to have all your tools in your toolbox as a
right.
person, as a human being, but also to be able to use as a character to portray different people, how you
Mm.
walk, how you talk. And so here's something I can pass on because as a DJ too, I know your voice is important as
Oh,
well, right?
absolutely.
To be able to, and sometimes the microphone doesn't work. Sometimes it's a little iffy. You've got to worry about the quality of your voice.
Hmm.
Where to put it, or like an actress, if I'm playing a CEO or a bitch, I have a
Yes.
lot more strength if my voice is coming from down here than if it's coming from up here and I want to play a kind mother saying goodnight to their daughter or whatever. So
Yeah.
I actually learned those things, and I have it in my course, my Unleash Your Star Power course. But for voice, if somebody, this a real quick tip for somebody is, and I learned this from an old radio guy after Marilyn Henry, who was the ABC daytime casting director, told me, honey, with that voice, when I was talking like this, you got to learn your craft, right? And so here's what he taught me, and it's very simple. So wherever you're sitting right now, just consider 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. And then when you get it down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and you can kind of feel the sweet spot and you can feel it vibrate down here. And this is how a Broadway actor would feel the auditorium without a microphone. Or if you're speaking to a whole auditorium and suddenly the mic goes out, you can speak like this all day long and it reaches the absolute back person in the very back row. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. And I feel that most women, especially in today's business community, don't know how to portray that kind of strength in front of a CEO because your voice gives it away. This is how you think about yourself. But if you use all your strength, you stand on your 2 feet, you get grounded, and you speak from here, you're going to get more respect and you're going to respect yourself.
Well, I could definitely see how you would learn to hone your voice through a
Mm-hmm.
variety of roles. And for me,
Uh-huh.
like you said, I could be on the microphone, in the middle of like a bunch of screaming people, or sometimes it's in front of a person, or a bunch of people
Yep.
making a presentation or introducing people. Um, so like your second movie was more of an action movie, Hired to Kill. So we're
Uh-huh.
we're going back a little bit,
Yeah.
and that was one where you have the photographer who's really a secret mercenary who's on a rescue mission. He's got these seven models,
One of those
and
crazy ones, I know. But the
yeah,
fun part was I got to spend 2 months in Greece. So
yes,
6 weeks on Corfu and 2 weeks in Athens. And my daughter Jessica turned 10 while we were there. And
ah,
they threw her a big it was a blast. We had so much fun. And it was like everything I dreamed about. Are you
mhm,
kidding? And
that's
so they
cool.
threw her a 10th birthday party. And unfortunately, their tradition in Greece is to put a sheep, a little lamb on a spit. So
Mm.
they put the lamb out like this, and
Yeah,
brought it on a stick, and she burst into. We're both vegetarians. We just can't take it now, you know.
yeah.
But it was to be able to do that, and I worked with Jose Ferrer. That was his last movie. Worked with Oliver Reed. So I got to work with some fantastic people in that, and again, that really opened up my eyes. It's the first time I'd ever traveled. I've been to Hawaii, I've been to New York, but that's it. And to go to a foreign country and actually live some more of my dreams, that was incredible experience. Opened my eyes to a lot.
And it was very, since it was so action oriented and you were
Oh
overseas.
yeah, I got to do an M16. Got to do all of those things that you. That's why it's so fun to be an actor. I got to get dirty, play a foreign spy, and we wore all the military gear, everything. It was awesome, awesome.
It sounds like it's a really positive experience. And all throughout the 90s, you kept adding and kept adding more roles. And
Yeah.
now, earlier you did mention playing Marilyn Monroe. So, of
Yeah.
course, we have to talk about HBO's The Rat Pack. This is considered, your portrayal of Marilyn Monroe was considered one of like the top 3 portrayals. And I've
Thank
seen
you.
other interviews where you've talked about how, she's inspired you as a
Yeah.
person herself. So first of all, how'd you get to the point where you were in front of them and the HBO and the Rat Pack? Did you go in knowing you were going to play Marilyn, or did you go into
No,
audition for
no, no, but I knew I could because I have such an affinity for her. And I just lost my mother, and
Oh,
so I just know her. I knew her. I knew I could play this. So, but again, this is another lesson that I learned, and I learned it from my acting coach, Milton Katselas, who said, don't give up till you try to the nth degree. So to play Marilyn, I mean, everybody in Hollywood wanted that part, and I'm a little peon nobody, right? So I go into the casting director, we get put on tape. It's just a real short little scene, and they go, "Okay, fine, thanks." Well, I knew that wasn't enough. That wasn't going to show what I could do, and I needed to show more. So I wrote Rob Cohen, the director. I wrote him a letter and said, "Okay," and it was letter then. It wasn't even email, and I
yeah.
said, "Okay, I know I can play her for you. Let me come meet you, please. If you didn't see what you needed in the audition, let me meet you and show you what I can do." And would you believe he did? And would you believe that's how I got it? I remember, and like that's 1,000,001 odds to get to play her, but I knew I could. You got to trust your gut. You got to trust your instinct and go for it to the nth degree. Thank you, Milton Katselas. And I remember getting the call from my manager, Paul Greenfield, at that time, and he said, "Okay, you got it." And I screamed. I said, "Oh my God, I got it!" And then I went, "Oh my God, I got it." Because then the pressure was on that I had to do Marilyn Monroe. And I played her at 36. She was 36. I was 46 when I played her. So just
Age is just a number.
yeah,
It's so just a
but
number.
see, I just think that not buying into all the aging things and the things that again, the old editor on your shoulder, if I had thought about it, I wouldn't have made that. I would not have contacted Rob Cohen, the director, to go to the nth degree. I don't know if anybody else did it, but I did it and it worked. So if you believe in yourself, you got to believe in yourself fully and make sure that other people see your beauty and your talent and your gifts, and then pay it forward so somebody else has that opportunity, because it's not about you again. It's about what we give to everybody and how we can help lift everybody up.
Right. Now we know there's a lot of, ageism, we'll say, in Hollywood, especially towards women. I mean, it used to practically be an unwritten rule that if you hit 40, you were done unless you were just
Yep,
playing the mom, and that
yep,
was it. And so over the last, we'll say, 10 years or so, streaming television has become more popular.
yep.
One thing that I have loved seeing is just the explosion of roles that are offered for mature
Right.
actors
Hmm.
versus, just, getting grandma or whatever.
Right.
Um,
So
and
here's what I have to say on aging in
mhm,
Hollywood and any other psychological barriers that you feel or that your industry feels with you.
mhm,
One thing, when I turned 50, IMDb, and I think Jessica was like 19 or 22 at the time. I don't know. I was fit. Well, she was 24 at the time because I had her at 26. My math sucks. But IMDb had me listed at 33.
Oh,
And I had always been trying to, what do they want? So I need to act like 33. How does 33 act? How do you walk? How do you look? And it wasn't really fully engaging my psyche or my talents. I was always trying to second guess. Okay, what do they want? I keep my secret. I don't want them to see my real age. Well, I finally said, I almost said a bad word. I don't, just forget it.
yeah.
And so I contacted IMDb. I'm probably the only one ever, and said, okay, I'm turning 50. Change my age on my listing from 33 to 50. Okay? And would you believe that I have not worked more since that? Because it unlocked me, but it also showed people, I think, what age looks like more. And I'm not like trying to, I think I act with all of me now, instead of just saying, what do they want? And now I'm saying, here's what you get. And I think that's really attractive in every industry,
Mm,
instead of trying to second guess what you don't want and keep a part of yourself secret, to just be full out and just go
yeah.
for it, because that's the whole color of the rainbow that you bring to it.
Right.
So
And
my career really changed after that, and thank God for Hallmark. I'm so grateful for Michelle Vickery and Bill Abbott, and now Wanya Lucas has come on as the CEO, because they're just embracing. They're like the old Hollywood system now. So thank God they keep me working, with crossword mysteries and Christmas movies and Chesapeake Shores, and I don't think they would have done that. I don't know. I think they're kind of leading it in the change going forward. So I'm just really grateful. And now they've added way more diversity and things too, which is fabulous. So I feel just like my best stuff is coming up, and I take roles based on whether or not I'm afraid to do them, whether or not, and I know when I am, that's when I
mhm.
have to take it, because it means that I need to unblock something in me and discover something in me that hopefully the audience will go on the journey too and learn something as well.
Oh, and that helps push something inside of you too. I was going to say, you were talking about like the different fields and how people can perceive, women or people that they view as the
Mm-hmm.
less experienced. And I know, I ran into that a lot because I became a DJ 19 years ago. And it's not that there weren't any female DJs, there were several, but there weren't that many.
Uh-huh.
A lot of them tended to get sucked into the underground scene and not really to the point where they had much of a very public profile, we'll say.
Yeah.
And I literally had men tell me in the beginning of, when in my first year of being a DJ, that women could never handle the stress of being a DJ. And
Yeah. Let them
yeah,
try being a single mother.
yes,
Hello. Oh my God. All
I
all
know.
those tools we have, sure, they're just life lessons, aren't they, to take you
Yep.
going forward. And you pass them right down to your child as well. So well done, Mama.
I know. I was going to say same to you by all means, because I can say at this point, she looks back and she's like, she's like, you may have stumbled here and there. She's like, but you never kept moving forward. And I'm like, that's always the goal, is no matter
Yep.
what's going on, is keep moving
Yeah.
forward.
And reinventing yourself. I call it, every once in a while you've got to stop and reassess,
Hmm.
and maybe I do it at the first of every year, and think about, okay, what adjustments do I have with my GPS? Maybe I need to tweak it and go this way just a little bit more. And
Yeah.
then you do a reboot and a restart, so it's you're not static. You don't stay in one thing forever. And that would be so boring anyway, wouldn't it?
Oh, very much so. Well,
Yeah.
for people like us.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say, when we're watching you on the screen and in your interviews and your movies and your television shows, you are the glowing epitome of confidence. But you didn't always feel that confidence.
Mm-mm.
And when you talk about, you have talks that you do for crowds where you discuss your experience with bulimia,
Mm-hmm.
and your talk for that is eating disorders and pressures to be perfect,
Mm-hmm.
which You're in Hollywood. I can't, that's probably the apex of you have to be perfect pressure that you could possibly have. With, at your comfort level. Tell us a little bit about your experience with bulimia. Like, how old were you? How did
Oh,
you
I
grow
started
to
that.
recognize it?
Started at 15 because I
Okay.
was always a little bit chunky. I've never been a size 0, and
Mm,
Hollywood is size 0,
yeah.
so I've never felt good. The only time I felt good in my body and could really eat pizza with no guilt was playing Marilyn Monroe. But as soon as they yelled cut, it was like, oh man, okay. But I remember a lot of times eating disorders run in families, and they don't know if it's because it's a learned behavior or if it's genetic, and it may be maybe a combination of both. So I actually heard about it from my mom, and it turns out that, and I was always just had probably 10 extra pounds,
Like,
and,
when
and
you look
yeah,
back now, you're like,
yeah,
I
and my
never think I
sister
was
Kim was
fat.
always the skinny one. Yes, so I coveted what Kim would wear. But I remember specifically one day on the front porch, because that's all the neighbors would come and sit on our front porch, and we kids would kind of sit around, play out in the yard, and red light, green light, all that. And Mom was telling her best friend Eleanor about that she couldn't keep food down when she was young, and that she got hospitalized. And it turned out that she'd been throwing up her food. And that was right around when Karen Carpenter we started hearing a little bit about that, but I'd never heard about an eating disorder before. And everybody else was so grossed out by my mom saying, well, I was throwing up, to be thin. And everybody else was like, ah. But you know what my reaction was, aha, maybe that can be my secret weapon too. And
Yeah.
so I went into the bathroom and I tried it, and it worked for me. And that became my secret weapon and my secret shame for 35 years.
Oh, you
35
really
years.
dealt with that for a
Oh
long.
yeah. Oh yeah. And I tried so hard to oh man, it was awful. It felt like I was always going backwards into a black hole, and I couldn't get out, and I couldn't tell anybody because I didn't want to give up my secret.
Mhm.
And even when my mother was passing away, that's how I handled stress. That's how I would get to zero. Too much emotions because I couldn't talk about it. Remember, I was always trying to be the good girl and
Yeah.
not bring anybody down. And so I just literally go throw up my feelings over and over and over again. And when my mom was dying in the living room at hospice, through hospice, my two sisters came there. And again, as my mom's in the living room on the hospital bed, I'm in the bathroom like 10 feet away, throwing my guts out like 3 and 4 times a day. And my sister Shelly actually tried to help me. She said, Barb, I know what you're doing. I said, no, you don't. And she said, you got to get help. And I said, no. And then I finally said, okay, I will, just to shut her up. But I didn't. But then I discovered 2 weeks later, and I tried so hard do positive things for Jessica, to give her a good self-image and everything.
Yeah.
And she was cheerleader in school at that point. She was probably sophomore in high school.
Mhm.
And I got a call one day, and this was 2 weeks after my mom died, and we all went back home, that Jessica just fainted at school. And so I raced down there. It turns out that she and her entire cheerleading team had been throwing up and doing bulimia and anorexia to
Oh.
fit into their cute little cheerleading outfits. And it's so prevalent today. And the media portrays that. And so that's the day that I finally decided, okay, was like my mother, like daughter, and now it's my daughter. And so I said, okay, no more. I am finally going to get help, not for me, but for her. And so I called an eating disorder clinic, but it took me 2 days to do it, and 2 days to get the words out that I need help. But you know what? Once I got that first sentence out, it was like the whole world changed, because it popped the air out of my secret. And
Mhm.
they deal with this stuff all the day. They weren't grossed out. They just said, okay, we're going to help. And it was like the whole world shifted, and all the weight was off my shoulders. And I got myself into therapy, a wonderful guy at UCLA, and I got Jessica into a separate one. And, and we both resolved it, and I can't say that every once in a while when something really bad happens, I'm not tempted again. But for me, it wasn't about food. It was about just getting to empty, getting to zero, so I don't have to feel so much and so much despair. So I think I've learned to communicate better as well. So,
It's
and
really
so,
interesting how much our kids absorb that we don't
yeah,
realize until
yeah,
it's kind of put in our face and we're like, oh wow, I didn't realize you were actually paying attention to that.
yes,
So
yeah, that was my biggest fear come true. And so that's when I knew I had to deal with it. And so we are their biggest role models, for better or for worse. That's why you got to teach your kids that everything is possible, and teach them not to give up 5 minutes before the miracle either.
I wrote that down because we're absolutely going to get back to that as part of a question later. But with your healing journey, as you know healed mentally and were able to move on past, we're not going to say past it, but move through it,
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
is a better way of putting it. We see this discussion amplified 100-fold over now because of social media,
Hmm.
because of just, even Zoom. There's people getting, Zoom facelifts because they're like, oh my gosh, I need to, I've never seen
Just
myself on
think about
camera this
being an
much
actress and
before.
watching yourself in a close-up in HD.
I, when you go back and you watch a movie from the 80s, you realize how generous it was and kind of that vague fuzz, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't
We
every
called it the
pore.
Doris Day filter. Yeah,
Thank you.
literally.
I was about to say, I
Yeah,
know there's got to be something about that puts it through.
yeah.
What do you do for self-care as you navigate this newer, more high definition world to help keep yourself in the proper mental place for viewing yourself on camera?
Uh, well, no matter what, like I do media training, for instance. Let me say what I do.
Yeah.
I and what I tell people to watch themselves back, because you want to keep what's good and you can delete what's not good, right? So all you need is one good take in a video,
Hmm.
like we're doing, or in a video for their website, or for YouTube, or for teaching a tip or anything. So we all do that, and then you watch it back. And even when I watch back a performance, it's uh, the first two times I'm like literally like this.
Hmm.
Oh, and then, but by the second and a half time through, always, I'm starting to go, oh, that was a nice moment. That
Yeah.
was a good moment too. So I'm picking out what's good so I can build on it, instead of tearing myself down about what's not good about it. So that's what I want whoever is watching to do the same thing. And if you are taking videos, you know how you do your phone and then you get all these little thumbnails, right? Hold on, let me just find one so I can show you.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Like you're doing a video and you get all of these thumbnails that kind of can look the same, right?
Right.
Right? When you're doing a video. Oh, like here's one. Here's me trying to do video, and see how many takes it took for me to get one. And then
Hmm.
and then all you need is one good one. And then what I do at the end of it is because you don't want to go back and have to look at all of your mistakes that you're not going to use, right? You want to weed them out. So what I suggest you do is do when you get one that could be a possibility that you want to review and maybe use,
Hmm.
to the very next frame is put your finger in front of the lens and click on. And so you videotape that. So all you need are your finger takes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find, so I can show you what I'm doing. Here's videos. Yeah, okay. So here's some where I was like doing something with my grandkids, right? So doing videos, and then do you see
Right.
the finger take, the
Hmm.
hand in front of it? So then
Right.
all I need to do, I don't need to look through everything that I did that day. All I need to do is go do the one in front of the finger take. And
Yeah.
so that's like seriously $1 million tip, because it will save you hours if you do a lot of
So
videos. Yes, literally.
exactly.
Yeah.
Ah, that is a great tip. So the little things that slide in is
Yeah,
what makes
and
these
then
conversations
then
fun.
lighting is everything too.
Yes.
If lighting solves so many things. If you have it in the wrong place, you create shadows. Shadows are not your friend.
Hmm.
Shadows make all the wrinkles, your neck look blah. So you
Hmm.
just the best thing to do is to face into a window, not with direct sunlight, but just hold your camera like this as you have it on you, and just go, okay, where do I look the best? Oh, I look really good there. So most of the time, if you're taking a video and you're facing into a window, you look like you have a complete lighting crew.
You
And then
know,
these, of course, these ring lights help too. But the absolute best, because it's like filtered light. It does look like you have a lighting crew if you face into a window wherever you are.
nice. See, there's the little bitty things, and you can
Yeah.
use that trick pretty much anywhere as long as there's a little bit of sunshine. I guess it might not work so
Well,
well.
but you don't want to do it in sunshine though, because that's too harsh. So you do
True.
it out of the sunshine, not direct
Okay.
light. Yeah. And
Okay.
then just try it after you're done. You
I
go try it.
will.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But lighting is everything.
Yes.
And it also is it you I call my program Unleash Your Star Power, because it's when you look good, your image is everything. So
Yeah.
you don't want anything out there to where you look crappy,
Mm.
because you can either look like $1,000,000 or you can look like $2 Chuck. And who in an interview, or who gets perceived better? The person who looks like a star, right?
Mm.
So take charge of your image, even the background. When you're doing a Zoom interview, or a job interview anymore, or shooting any videos, what does your background say about you? You stage it just like, and think about, like, you're your own producer and actor.
Right.
And so have the image be that you want to present to make you look like a star.
Mm. So you spent a lot of time developing yourself, personally and professionally, and and becoming more comfortable with yourself all around, mentally and physically, we'll
Mm-hmm.
say. So in about 2012, you won an award for Best Indie Actress in A Perfect Ending.
Mm-hmm.
Now that, for people who don't know, that is a movie with a woman who is in a very unfulfilling marriage. And after, a lot of challenges and not feeling happy at all, she professes to a lesbian couple friend that she knows that she's just never been fulfilled, especially sexually, in her marriage. And they actually suggest like a discreet service where she can explore more of her
Which they
sensual
actually
nature.
have, evidently, for women. Who knew?
Oh, so I was going to say, now, obviously, this is the kind, it's a very deep and self-exploratory kind of role because you're playing a very conflicted character, somebody who's
Mm-hmm.
who's just needs more, and maybe this is going to be it. And because, we're also talking about a community that, has been, historically come across a lot of challenges and stuff
Mm-hmm.
with society and such. How did you do your research for the role to make sure that you were approaching it in the really sensitive manner that you did? I mean, it was a
Um,
really
for, oh,
lovely
thank you.
characterization.
Well, first of all, I took it because it really scared me, and
Mhm.
my father had just died,
Oh,
and I had to resolve things about death and dying, and you know how that is. And I
yeah.
think parts always come into my life for a reason,
Hmm.
to teach me something. And I worked with great actors on this. John Hurd played my husband. He's
Hmm.
passed now last year,
Oh.
unfortunately. And I needed to play this woman. She dealt with things. She was an alcoholic,
Hmm.
so we had, things in common. I dealt with all addictions, like the bulimia thing. Well, they're all the same. We all have them. Some
Yeah.
people are into drugs. Some people shop too much. Some people have an Amazon addiction, which I think I do now after this pandemic. Um, but I just wanted to play her truth. As I read her, I knew her, and I knew I had to play her and bring her to life. And you know, I don't think there's much difference. I mean, sex is sex, and it's
Hmm.
about, uh, as actors, we always get thrown into sex scenes, and they're uncomfortable. It's weird because you have people around doing, they're right around you, and it's all choreographed. You got to move one way and not block it, and all of that. And so, but I don't really have a problem ever actually doing it, because I just connect with the person, and just love is love. is love.
Yeah.
So, and it's just about being vulnerable. So,
And there's a
I,
lot of that in this movie, and not
yeah,
just for your character, but for your character's counterpart too,
yeah,
her
yeah,
eventual lover, because she's struggling with her own
right,
personal
right.
demon.
So, one of my favorite lines in the movie is that I say, as that Rebecca says, is that I just want to know one time in my life what it feels like to say, I love you and really mean it.
Oh.
And so that is kind of the through character of this. And then we also put in a lot of my bulimia struggle about being perfect. There's one scene
Mhm.
there where I actually asked if we could put that in. And it's part of my talk that I give too, a poem that I wrote about it, about that I never felt pretty enough or skinny enough or smart enough or perfect enough. And then she tells me, but all those things that make you not perfect are what make you so perfectly who you are.
Right.
So, again, the roles that we play or that I play always teach me something. And I needed to heal during that movie. So I
Hmm.
remember after we all cut, we're driving home. I literally had to pull off to the side of the highway, the freeway, and I just let it all go. And I bet I cried there for 20 minutes on the shoulder of the freeway because it just all, I just needed to cleanse, you know. So um, I'm glad I did the movie. And I get letters, I get emails, I get so many comments, probably except for Hallmark, which is such a different genre. I get so many people writing me, men and women, saying that you inspired me, your character in this movie inspired me, that is my favorite movie ever, and that inspired me to take a leap of faith as well, to get out of my comfort zone. And it's not necessarily in your sexuality, it's
Yeah.
about just um, if you're being held back, like this woman had never had passion. She'd also never lived her dream. She just
Mm.
settled. And if you settle in your life, it's going to come back to bite you and haunt you and haunt your children for generations too. So just don't settle. See what you can
Becomes
do.
more of that what if kind of
Now,
thing
what
that
if?
you were talking about
Yep,
earlier.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Sorry, I just had a moment and I forgot my question because it was something you said. It was, hold on. Think. Come back because it was so good. um, uh, I'll come back to it. I'm about to say I find that
Me
one
all the time.
best. Yeah, exactly. It was just because this wasn't one of the ones I had written down, but I was like, ooh, ah, like this is great. Um, hmm, okay. So looking at that role compared to, so many of your other roles, you went really deep with that. You came out with the best indie actress for that. How did it feel to get that award when
Um,
they said, here's this thing for playing this really deep and complex role?
really felt really validating. It just
Mhm.
not just for me, but for Rebecca. I think I don't know, the characters feel like a real person to me. So I don't want to disappoint them.
Mhm.
I want to do them justice. So I think we did with her. I think I think
Absolutely.
we did.
So, all right. So you also won a a Best Supporting Actress award for your role in Hamlet's Ghost, which was directed by Walker Haynes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Walker is the quintessential engine that could, because he wrote this, he acted in it, he's a star in it, and he produced it on no money. I don't know how he did, and he's the nicest guy ever. Such a good actor. And on set, his wife and his child were there doing craft services. So
Ah,
it's so fun to go back and to do, like the whole, as I said, that Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland thing, let's put on a show. So I was really grateful that he had me do it. And he won awards with this movie too. So, and it was like going back in time and a love story. And they're also it's faith-based as well.
Okay.
So I loved being able to get some sort of award which would help elevate the film too. So, and I'm just really lucky that he cast me.
And it's a production I very much look forward to finishing watching because I found a little bit of it and then I was like, oh, if
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
wanted to
know how
prepare a
he did
little bit.
on that budget because he did like technology and CGI, and I don't know
Right?
how he did it, but it was fantastic. So hopefully,
Sometimes knowing people helps.
yeah,
Very much so. So during the pandemic, you've actually been somebody that's been able to keep filming on some of the shows because of the
yeah,
Hallmark Channel,
yeah.
which you
Thank God.
have, of course, Chesapeake Shores, which you mentioned earlier, and you're with that with Treat Williams and Diane Ladd and Jesse
Yeah.
Metcalf. That's based on novels of the same name
Hmm.
by Cheryl Woods,
Hmm.
which we've seen a great explosion of the novel to TV kind of thing
Yeah.
with
Yep.
Bridgerton and stuff, but this was before that.
Yeah.
So you said you've learned a lot from this character, and you've played her
Right.
now for 4 years, going on 5 years.
We're just started. Yeah, we're just starting our fifth season. We were supposed to do season 5 last year,
Yeah.
but of course it got postponed with the pandemic.
Mhm.
I love this woman, and I was actually doing another series for them called Cedar Cove,
Yeah.
and then Bill Abbott, who was then the CEO, called me and said, "I just read this book by Cheryl Woods, and I see you as this character." And I said, "Let me look it up." So I
Yeah.
was sitting right here at this desk, looked it up on Amazon and bought the Kindle version and looking. I'm going, oh my God, I do. Again, that whole affinity thing. I just knew I had to play her
Mhm.
because I knew I was afraid somebody would do it wrong. How about that one? And I don't mean to toot my horn, but I get this feeling, and I want to do them justice. I want to tell their story. I want it to come out of me and tell their story. And Megan O'Brien
Mhm.
was married to Treat Williams, Mick O'Brien, and they had 5 kids and 4 kids. Oh my God, now I can't even remember how many kids. 5 kids. And but she leaves them when for 17 years, and so she could very well have been played as the unredeemable character mother who could leave her kids,
Mm.
and yet we all find things that reflect our own lives in the characters that we play. And I remember when I got divorced from Jesse's dad, I had no job, I had nothing, I was so guilty about leaving that I just gave him everything. And then I'm trying to go on nothing to raise my daughter, like literally starting just on nothing to raise my daughter. And so I knew that was how Megan would have felt. So she left the kids because she's going through postpartum depression after the last one. And she how could she take 5 kids and take them away from school and their friends and this wonderful house, and Diane Ladd's character, I mean, who could do that? And so I wanted to go away. Megan, I wanted to go away and just get my head right and then have the kids come back. Well, Mick did not let them come. And see, this is all my backstory because
Right.
it's not in the books. All
Right.
it is at the end of the pilot, Megan comes up and wants to go back together. And of course, the whole series is about how do you fix love? How do you can you forgive and start over, or how do you put a family back together? And there's so much of that now that we're dealing with. I mean, our families have gotten pulled apart because of pandemic, because of politics, because of so much stuff now. And so this show, hopefully, by the journey that our characters have gone through, is showing that it's never too late to start over and to give it
Mm.
another try. And I think that is one reason why the show has resonated with fans too, because um, I know Megan, just the whole first season, it was like I kept measuring her progress by if I got a smile out of one of the kids, or if and it was always the door slammed in my face, but I just kept getting the courage up again to try again. And then I'd measure it in just the small victories, like, well, she did look at me a little longer this time before she slammed the door. So I don't know. I really like this character a lot, and she's evolved a lot. She's gotten a lot stronger, and I think I've gotten a lot stronger. Again, I grow with my characters, and so now we're doing a new revisiting the romance now with Treat Williams with Megan and Mick. So
I
we're
was going
still
to
what happened.
ask if that was starting
But
to, if they were starting
yeah,
to refuse.
yeah, yeah. But I think she's in a different place, and I think he's going to respect her more, and she's going to shut him down and say, "Okay, stop it now. Get over it." A lot better than she did then.
Haha. See, that characters grow and then they continue to share that growth and
Yep.
bring it out of the best of us. But on the other hand, while you have this really amazing, deep, dramatic thing, you also are involved with Hallmark channels at Crossword Puzzle Mysteries for
Yep.
their movies and mysteries. Now, you've done some fun, like a little bit of a horror early on with, let's see, Matthew Gray Gubler, and you were doing the movie that I just had.
Suburban Gothic.
Thank you.
Suburban Gothic. Yeah.
Suburban
That was
Gothic, yes.
comedy horror. It was really
Comedy
fun.
horror.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah. So
It's, so you got
and
these mystery movies now, so you
yeah.
kind of get to play with that a little bit too.
Yes, yes. This is the second series, movie series that they've let me do. So I was on with Murder She Baked with Alison Sweeney,
Uh-huh.
and now we're doing. I'm so grateful to be with Lacey Chabert and Brennan Elliott. They're just two of the nicest, most just greatest family people ever, and so they're the two stars of this, and then I kind of am the soft place to fall, and so we have two more coming out soon.
Hmm.
So
I was gonna
it's
say, do
fun.
you have one coming out around Valentine's Day soon,
One on
don't you?
Valentine's Day, and then the next one will. I don't. They don't have an air date yet for that, but developing my character with it. I play Aunt Candace, who is just it. I just love Lacey, so it's just so easy to just fall into this and be her support system.
I was always a huge fan of like Murder She Wrote and Matlock and
Yeah,
Columbo
absolutely.
and stuff growing
Yeah,
up. So you kind of get
yeah,
those.
yeah,
Uh,
and the good one, the good thing about Hallmark is they most of these are the leads are females.
yes,
So I like that they promote smart women. You know,
yeah,
smart women who don't necessarily need a man, but they're equal, and together, of course, you do better. You know,
yeah.
but it's I love what they do. Hallmark is great because they have so many female and male stars now,
Hmm.
and Hallmark lets us do different roles. Usually, it used to be in the olden days, like if you did a show on a network, you can't work with that network again. But Hallmark has changed the whole scope and of Hollywood right now because it is like the old studio system. And I'm just so grateful to be on a network that I think puts out kind energy. I think it's we're aligned with my brand and Hallmark because I think it does make a difference. And I hear that all the time, especially uh, during the pandemic. We need, and during the last 4 years, no matter which political spectrum you're on, which side you're on, you know, you just get tired of it and you need love, you need
Yeah.
positivity.
Yeah.
So I think I'm grateful to be in a company like Hallmark.
Definitely don't want to live in anger all the time.
No.
During the pandemic, since we brought this up again, obviously a lot of us as entertainers have found ways to still connect with people. And you actually have some really fun video blogs that you did last year
Yeah.
throughout different parts of
Yeah.
the pandemic called the Blondie blogs.
Hmm.
How did you feel producing those versus, like your more professional work? Like, did you just pull out the camera one day and say, "That's it, I'm going to make a
Now,
blog," or is this something
my
you
my my
planned?
best friend is Sue Melky, and
Ah,
she's and do you know her? She's
I know
just
the
awesome.
name.
She can do everything. So
Hmm.
she's also the branding expert, just Australian, fun. And I haven't seen her face to face during this whole pandemic, just because yeah, I just can't wait to get back. But she's the one who says, "Okay, get out there and do it. We need this stuff. Just do." And she even named it Blondie Blogs and did all the branding on it and stuff. So it's just. I think we've learned during this pandemic that it's not about being perfect so much. Oh, here's my cat, Henry, just came up here.
Hi, Henry.
Although he's kind of perfect. Look at him. But it's about just doing the fun things. Like I had I had, as like everybody else, my roots on my hair were at least that long. So I did what everybody else is doing, looked it up on YouTube, got a color, and did a blog of, me actually coloring my hair, and it actually turned out great. It cost me $8.05 on Amazon, and it's like $200 with the guy who does it. I mean, I don't have the highlights, but I can live with it, And then just the other fun stuff about like Spanx, the love-hate relationship you have it with it. So I guess that's boredom. That's why I'm doing it, boredom.
Yeah.
And to just not be so perfect. Heck, we're all alike.
Well, the beautiful thing with social media and things like these is that it's taken away some of that mysticism around stars, where we actually get to see, you don't have to wait for the magazine spread to come out. You actually get to know like more as a person. And so I know that there's probably a lot of your fans that really, because you got a very quick YouTube presence very quickly from those Blondie blog videos. So you can tell that you have very passionate fans. So
I have the best. Let me do a shout out to them, please. Yes. Fans of Barbara Niven, FOBN, the best people I'm not kidding, on the internet. And I truly believe it when I say people come together for a reason. People are in your life for a reason, and you're meant to do something together with them. And that's what we're doing. And it's about positive energy, and I'm so grateful to these people. Some I've known for years and years from the very beginning, and new ones all the time from around the world. And I just could not be more grateful. I'm honored. I'm honored. They're in my life.
Well, Barbara, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me today. Before I let you go, what are your favorite platforms to interact with people on?
My website, which is barbaraniven.com, but probably Facebook. And Facebook, and it's my Barbara Niven at Facebook. And then also I'm on Twitter as Barbara Niven as well. And I do a lot of live Facebook Lives with people. Every time we've got a premiere, like we have one on Valentine's Day for the next Crossroad Mysteries Terminal Descent. I'm going to do a Facebook Live premiere party. So I ask people to come and invite them to come and party with us before. And then we'll go straight over to Twitter, and then we'll live tweet together too. So because what I do, it's the very best that about my whole process is when we get to share it and it comes full circle. So and I really get to know my fans and the people. I'm just, when I say I'm honored, I really am. They're good people. They make me better.
And that's what the best we can ask for our fans, is that they make us better and keep supporting us.
Yeah.
Well, we hope from No Strings Attached to You News, of course, that we see so much more of you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Eddie.
And I appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you so much. And one final thing, again, if you have a dream, don't give up. Just go after it. Take a step today. Find a mentor, and then be a mentor. Take one action today that your future self is going to say thank you for. And most importantly, don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle, because you can make it happen.
And I was that, you know what? One last question. Was there ever a time that you felt like you almost gave up before a miracle happened?
Oh my gosh, yes. And the worst times, the astronaut Chuck Yeager used to say that the cockpit gets shakiest just before you break the sound barrier. So if you've been working hard at something and all of a sudden everything starts going, and you're going, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Do it for 5 more minutes, because your sound barrier, you're breaking it right now. And on the other side is everything you ever dreamed of.
And just a couple more minutes of interview, and we got that too. So, so there we go, guys. We didn't stop before a great thing happened. Barbara's definitely going to keep great things happen. So, Again, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.